Welcome back, everybody, to The Ranting Designer, part 3 of the greatest car event of my life slash in history. We're going to get started actually by going back to the last car that we covered in the last video, and that was the Alfa Romeo that I wasn't able to identify. Thankfully, I posted it on my Instagram and I was able to identify that through one of my followers. And if you're not following me on Instagram, definitely do that. It's at Ranting Designer. And like I said, I posted it and somebody was able to identify it for me pretty quickly, actually, too. And this is an 8C Monza. And with that information, I was able to look it up. And again, we have this incredible history behind this car, which I was just completely not aware of. Alright, so just to make it real quick, I was correct. It is a 1930s model. Very early 30s, around 33. It looks like in 2016, an example of this one was sold for barely under $12 million, which again is pretty astonishing. I had no idea that car was worth that when I was looking at it back then. And also, I saw that one of them, again, this is the 1933 model, finished second in the 1933 Mille Miglia, and also competed at Le Mans in 1938. But again, race cars through and through. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and get started on the rest of these. And we're going to start with a car for a change that isn't Italian, shockingly enough. Okay, so first up we have this Shelby Cobra 427. And I think one of the more popular liveries, which is that blue with the white stripe right down the middle. And I was able to find out who owned the car thanks to the next car we're going to be looking at that's right next to it. Aside from that, I really wasn't able to find out much about the car itself and any of its history. But just Shelby Cobras in general, they're not the most beautiful cars. They're striking, they have presence, are obviously super aggressive with that huge air intake up front and those fenders. I mean, they're just brutal looking cars, and everybody knows they just have that power. Even if you don't know what the car is or its history, just by looking at it, you know the thing is a monster because that is exactly what it looks like. A true American car right there. It's just, let's fit as much power, the biggest engine we can get in there, and let's go as fast as possible, basically. So that is pretty much what the Shelby Cobra is and what people know it for. So in its own way, even though it's not a beautiful car, I mean, it's still awe-inspiring. You know, it does have some nice curves, definitely has some nice lines, but it is much more of a brute than a finesse type of car. But then again, that's what makes them what they are and what people love about them. They are half European design, half American muscle. So again, that's a pretty great appeal, and they are very much beautiful cars, just in a different way. If you're familiar with the Nissan Skylines, you know, the R32, 33, and 34, they are not beautiful cars. They're good looking cars, but it's because we know what they can do and we know about them. But again, they are more brute force, you know, square bodies, kind of a muscular look, rather than soft lines and curves. So they both have their appeal, obviously, to car guys. We love muscle cars, you know, we love force, speed, and a lot of horsepower. And that is exactly what this car is about, is showing off that strength that it has. If any car ever looked like it had been working out in the back and just flexing on everybody the whole time, it's definitely this car. Now, another cool thing about this was actually when I was going into Laguna Seca for the historic races, I saw Carroll Shelby, and yeah, I saw him. I even got a picture of him, kind of blurry from far away, but yeah, he was wearing a black shirt with a black hat. I believe he was wearing black, just all black, basically. So that was pretty cool to see him there as well. One and only time, unfortunately, that I saw him. All right, so next up we have the Cobra's twin. No, not twin. Maybe brother from another mother. Yeah, we'll call it that. It is not just as legendary as the Cobra, but more so. It's one of the most beautiful cars, as stated by many people. It is definitely one of the holy grails, if not the holy grail. And that would be the legendary, the mythical, the beautiful Ferrari 250 GTO. Now, I do have to say that, unfortunately, this is like the absolute worst picture of a GTO that's ever been taken, I think. Yeah, it is just completely blown out by sun. I tried to edit it, but honestly, it didn't make like too big a difference because, yeah, I mean, the file is old, it's small, it's just basically a JPEG file. So you're not able to do a whole lot with it. And I believe this is the only picture I have of this car from this event, which again, I mean, that just kind of was based on the camera that I had, the little experience I had with the memory card and how long the battery was gonna last. So I didn't want to take too many pictures of every car and then end up, only getting a couple of cars. But I did see this car at least one more time, and the last time that I saw it, I had much more experience with photography. I had a much better camera, and I got some really good shots of it. So that's the only redeeming part of this. And if I keep doing these videos, I'll go ahead and post those images at some point. But yeah, I mean, this picture of this car is so unfortunate. It is just tragic as can be because it's such a good looking car. But we do what we can with what we got, I guess. So this was the first time I had seen this particular car. And obviously, since there's not that many GTOs to begin with, I was able to find out a little bit about this specific car, which is chassis 3387 GT. It's from 1962. And some of the racing history that this particular car has was that it won second overall and first in its class in 1962 at Sebring, and sixth overall and third in its class at the 24 Hours of Le Mans that same year. So that's a pretty great achievement for one of these cars, and obviously adds to the value and the story of the history of the car. Now, I did find out who owned it at the time when I photographed this car in 2004. I'm not going to say his name because apparently he is a lawyer, and any lawyer that makes enough money to buy a GTO, I don't want to mess with. So I'm going to keep that to myself, but I'm sure you guys can look it up on your own if you like. And also another cool fact was that I did find some of the past owners and how much they paid for the car back in the day when they bought it. Now it looks like in 69, it looks like somebody paid $5,400 for it. Then in 75, somebody paid $13,000 for it. And just roughly 3 years later, in 78, that same person sold it for $125,000. So in 3 years, a $13,000 investment went up and was flipped for $125,000. That's insane. And then it does say that the particular owner that owned the car in 2004 bought it in 97, it looks like, but it doesn't say how much. So we're going to leave it at that. But I am assuming from 78 to 97, it went up substantially. Now, it looks like also in 2017, the owner sold it for $44 million. And the person that bought it from him turned around and flipped it pretty quickly again to, I think it was a collector in the UK, I believe it was. And there was a lawsuit involved with this car for the original transmission, it looks like. Anyway, a lot going on with this car, but absolutely amazing to see up close, as obviously any GTOs are. But I thought it was kind of cool that these two were placed together with the blue paint job with that white racing stripe. They looked pretty cool. And I really wish I'd gotten more pictures. And again, if you didn't see the first episode of this was back in 2004, like I said. It was just a little point and shoot camera, and I didn't have a whole lot of experience shooting all day with that camera, so I didn't really know how many images the memory card was going to hold and how long the battery was going to go on this camera. So unfortunately, I really wasn't able to take that many pictures of each car. It was just more of a, shoot a couple and then go on to the next one to make sure I was able to get enough. And even though I got quite a few images all around, it's just not nearly enough. It's kind of disappointing to look back and see that I only got a couple pictures of, this GTO and that, old GP car, etc. But it is what it is. I enjoyed it, and at least I have some memories to go along with it. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this video now. Again, I'm trying to keep them about 10 minutes or so, but as my username suggests, I tend to rant quite a bit. So they always go over. Apologies for the rants, but I literally cannot help it. So thanks again for watching, guys. Please subscribe, follow my Instagram, which is same username on IG, and see you guys next time.